Part 26. Wanna start over, but out of the situation. The car drove to the Huasha Hotel, and Xuan Huaifeng was still going up the steps when a waiter greeted him. Probably received a tip from Lin Qijun. He smiled very sweetly, shouted, "Adjutant Xuan is finally here," and led Xuan Huaifeng all the way to a very delicate room on the third floor. The guards who followed today were not the same group as last time. They didn't know about the last time the guards were beaten. Xuan Huaifeng still asked them to wait outside. These people were more honest than the previous ones. Really, stay out the door. Lin Qijun was guarding the empty room. His heart was cold as he waited. When he saw the door open, Xuan Huaifeng suddenly walked in, stood up in surprise and joy, and said, "I thought I had to wait until the evening. You're done with your work?" Very gentlemanly. He helped Xuan Huaifeng open the seat and asked him to sit down. Xuan Huaifeng said apologetically, "You are sick. Why do you want you to take care of me? You feel sorry for me." Lin Qijun smiled. "This is what I am willing to do. Why not feel sorry?" He didn't want to sit across the table and wait for Xuan Huaifeng sat down, picked the chair to the left of Xuan Huaifeng and sat down. Xuan Huaifeng saw that it was already 12 o'clock early, but the table was empty. Knowing that Qijun was waiting for him hungry, he felt guilty and said to him, "Just wait. Why don't you order something to eat? Sick people shouldn't be hungry. Coincidentally, I brought a little salary with me today, and I'll be the host of this meal." Picking up the menu, he flipped over and asked Lin Qijun what he wanted to eat. Lin Qijun took the menu away from him, and just smiled. "When did you and I become so polite? The more and more I find it strange." He slowly moved his face towards him. Xuan Huaifeng was startled, and hurriedly picked up the menu again, staring only at the words on it, and said, "Do you want me to accompany you to starve? No matter what you have to say, order the dishes first." It's not too late to speak slowly. The more he avoided it, the more unhappy Lin Qijun felt in his heart. One palm pressed the dish on the table, got a little closer, and asked astringently, "If you don't want to see me, just don't come. Why do you keep avoiding me when you come? I also know that in your heart, I don't miss me as much as I miss you. I went out today, and I don't know how much effort it took to get out of the house. But you were so good, you were so lukewarm, you almost left me here." Xuan Huaifeng also didn't understand how he lost his mind and patience. To change the past, Lin Qijun complained so intimately that he had been sweet and soft in his heart, and he had exchanged heartfelt feelings with him. At this moment, it sounds unreasonable and boring. He couldn't help but wonder if he had been with someone in the entertainment circle for a long time, and learned these words with a fat and powdery taste. Xuan Huaifeng tilted his head and said lightly, "I didn't mean to. I was going to go out today, but the chief just happened to be sick." Lin Qijun immediately said, "Chief? You're so familiar." Xuan Huaifeng's face was a little uneasy, thinking that Qijun was ill, and it was natural for the patient to be inexplicably idle, so he endured and said, "I'm his lieutenant after all. If I don't call him the chief, what should I call him? Do we have to fight over him every time we meet? What's the point of that?" Lin Qijun pondered. When Xuan Huaifeng was 13 or 14 years old, he was already very beautiful, and he was very close to him. Because of the friendship of fellow villagers and classmates, it was common to eat and sit together. It's just that Xuan Huaifeng is gentle to him, and he takes care of everything. Naturally, while enjoying this affection, he reciprocates and spends time with him. It's inevitable to get used to it once and for all. As the saying goes, if you stay in the orchid room for a long time, you will not smell its fragrance. After watching a lot, I don't think that Xuan Huaifeng is rare in heaven and earth. Unexpectedly, Xuan Huaifeng has only been in the general administration of customs for a few months. and his attitude towards him has changed drastically. While Lin Qijun was silent, he looked at Xuan Huaifeng carefully. Everyone said that boys were the most beautiful and cute when they were 16 or 17 years old, but he felt that they were too young. Like Xuan Huaifeng, after a little bit of 20, he experienced 2 points of heroism that set off the good appearance left by his mother, and the lines on his face are just between soft and tough, neither increase nor decrease. Which is the most rare? He stared at it carefully for a while, and looked at the tip of the eye between his brows. There were a little hidden amorous feeling, and it was even more incomprehensible. Lin Qijun sighed deeply while looking at it. Xuan Huaifeng asked, "It's rare to meet for a meal, why do you sigh?" "This kind of atmosphere makes people unappetizing." Lin Qijun sat silently for a while, and asked in a low voice, "Let me ask you one thing. It's because of the relationship we've known each other over the years, please don't hide it from me. Have you and Bai Xuelan become that kind of friend?" He suddenly asked this question. And Xuan Huaifeng was caught off guard and shocked. His face turned into white paper, he raised his head and stared straight at Lin Qijun. His eyes were like the surface of a disturbed lake, and violent ripples oscillated constantly. Lin Qijun had guessed a little earlier that Bai Xuelan's intentions were too obvious, and he was not blind. But one is that Xuan Huaifeng is a man, and this kind of thing can't be said clearly. 2. Bai Xuelan happens to be in a critical position right now, and he is a particularly tough person. Piercing this layer of cellophane will do no one any good. At this moment, I couldn't help but ask clearly, without Xuan Huaifeng's answer, just by looking at his reaction. "We knew that the boat was done." Lin Qijun was more calm than before, sighing, "I didn't want to ask. I'm afraid it really answers what I thought. Not only will you be embarrassed, but we will be even more difficult to get along with in the future. However, I was sure that you are a person who insists on love. No thinking of. It's no wonder that Bai Xuelan's status and money are indeed hard to refuse. If he really treats you well, I'll quit here and bless the two of you until you grow old." These words blocked Xuan Huaifeng's heart. Xuan Huaifeng gritted his teeth and said, "Listen, what kind of idiot did you say? Is Bai Xuelan good to me, and what does it have to do with you? How can we both grow old?" Lin Qijun was overjoyed and shook his head holding his hand. He said, "Since you said that, you still have me in your heart?" Xuan Huaifeng was exposed to the most shameful side in front of his lover, and his whole body was rustling and cold, and his heart was completely ashes. With such thoughts, he said bitterly, "What if I have you? What if I don't have you? I've made it clear, and I don't want to hide it. Every time I think of you these days, I feel sorry for you. So I continue to hide it. I'm losing a bit of character. After all, long pain is better than short pain, and from now on, draw the line." As he said, he pulled his hand back. Of course, Lin Qijun would not let go. Men in this world have a mentality that loves to snatch. Originally in the palm of his hand, no matter how precious it is nothing more than that. If someone comes to grab it, it will be a fight to the death. What's more, Xuan Huaifeng has been certain that it belongs to him over the years, and is only waiting for him to pick the fruit alone. Lin Qijun grabbed his hand and said, "There is no boundary between you and me. If you didn't change your mind and wanted to follow Bai Xuelan, why did you leave me?" It was like drinking 2 bottles of vodka, dizzy, and stubbornly said, "No matter if you change your mind, you already have that kind of thing. I wet my shoes. And I still haunt you. What's the matter? It's better to stop. Harmful people, you gave up on me and went to find your own happiness as soon as possible. When you find it, I will also wish you well." As he said, he couldn't help thinking of that night at Nian's house. If it is Qijun, as long as Qijun speaks out, there will naturally be a little chance of recovery. After all, although he and Bai Xuelan have had a skin-to-skin relationship, he also had a relationship with Qijun. Lin Qijun was afraid that he would get excited, slammed the door, stretched his arms to hug him in his chest, and hurriedly said, "You can't understand it too much. It's a new era now, even women can get divorced and remarried. What's more, you are a big man. What's more, you said those words just now. I know you and Bai Xuelan are definitely not willing. How can the intimacy of the body be compared to the intimacy of our souls?" Xuan Huaifeng heard this. I have already determined that I gave my body to someone else that night. The heart just died, thinking of how arrogant I was, but I ended up in a mess. And I was reduced to the point where I was casually played by other men. I can't blame others at all, but I can only blame myself for being stupid and depraved. He took a few breaths, slowly pushed Qijun away, and said coldly, "According to you, you don't care about my filth at all?" Lin Qijun sighed. He was also sad. All this is helpless. He also tried hard that day to bring Huaifeng to the Lin family's foreign firm to work. But Bai Xuelan is the chief of customs, and brought Huaifeng into the White Mansion. What can he do? Bai Xuelan used the means to get Huaifeng's body. What can he do? The relationship between Huaifeng and him can't be on the table at all, and it can't be inseparable from the general administration of customs. The only thing left is that he thought that Huaifeng would never change his heart towards him. Lin Qijun also likes to watch movies. The beauties who are imprisoned in the deep palace, who wash their faces in tears and miss their lover outside the palace, are very romantic and touching. If Huaifeng also held such a persistent mind towards him, he would be content. Maybe even enjoy the poignant beauty of this world. However, if Huaifeng suddenly changed his mind and chased after power and wealth greater than himself, it would make people feel sad and jealous. In Lin Qijun's heart, an unwillingness rushed to his throat, looked into Xuan Huaifeng's eyes, and said softly, "As long as you are still the one who insists on love, no matter what happens, it will not stain you." Xuan Huaifeng did not expect him to be so magnanimous and affectionate. He was stunned for a while, and slowly lowered his eyes. Lin Qijun said, "When something like this happens, you are the one who feels the worst. If I blame you for anything, then I'm not human. As long as our hearts remain the same, no one can help us. Slowly put your hand over." Xuan Huaifeng originally bit his lower lip and wanted him to rest on his shoulders, but seeing that his fingertips were about to touch his clothes, he felt uncomfortable, as if someone was grabbing him, so he turned to the side subconsciously and moved away. After a while of boredom, he said, "Thank you for your kindness. I just..." Halfway through, he stopped. Lin Qijun asked patiently, "Just what?" "Although your idea is very good, it's too embarrassing to actually do it." Xuan Huaifeng said, "The body and the mind are not separated as the book says. It's clear. I can't do this kind of separation of spirit and flesh, so why bother you? You can look up to me. And you might as well be a friend in the future. If you find a new person early, I feel less guilty." He used to be content to dedicate to Lin Qijun. Lin Qijun thought it was optional. Thinking about spiritual romance, after all, he wanted to find a style and temperament like Huaifeng. But for physical contact, spend some money. It's enough to find an actor. Touching a man with a family background is like a lady from a big family, and it will always cause countless troubles. However, now Xuan Huaifeng showed a little resistance, but unexpectedly whetted Lin Qijun's appetite. Sure enough, what you can't eat is good. The more Lin Qijun looked at him, the more he felt that today's Huaifeng was more moving than in the past. Probably because the body that had been enlightened by Bai Xuelan overflowed from the bones. More and more sour and jealous, I hate myself for being confused that day. Why didn't I do it when I could pick it up? Thoughts turned in his mind. He slowly approached again, and said in a low voice, "It's not difficult not to separate the spirit and the flesh. Our hearts and minds are now in harmony, but we lack skin and skin, just like the loving unmarried. Just like husband and wife, just waiting for the bridal candle. If you really like me, let me get close to you once. When there is a chance in the future, I will take you back from Bai Xuelan. By then, you want to be in my house. A foreign firm is good for any position. Or just be the assistant manager by my side, and you can meet every day." After all, he was Xuan Huaifeng's first love. Xuan Huaifeng's dead-hearted people couldn't let go of the past. Seeing him come bit by bit, he felt that he couldn't resist him, and his resistance was greatly reduced. "In my heart, I always felt that I became so strange. And the pain that felt like a needle in my heart every day was the root cause of Bai Xuelan's tyrannical and domineering. If Qijun doesn't care about it, it is already a blessing from God. What else is there to say? You can disregard previous suspicions, turn back from the wrong path to the right path, and find the original love, which is naturally better than anything else." Seeing Qijun's face getting bigger and bigger in front of his eyes, he gritted his teeth and raised his head, waiting quietly for his lips to be placed on his own. When a golden light suddenly flashed from the corner of his eyes, it turned out that Qijun also reached out and held his face in order to kiss him. The gold watch strap on the wrist reflected the sunlight coming in from the window and stabbed Xuan Huaifeng. Xuan Huaifeng suddenly remembered the gold watch that Bai Yunfei was wearing, and felt very uncomfortable. He swung his neck back, and Lin Qijun kissed him blankly. He was surprised when Xuan Huaifeng stood up straight and said, "No way." Lin Qijun also stood up and asked with a hurt face, "Why not? You keep saying that you have me in your heart, are you lying to me? Why did I love you so much? You said no. Why did you hate Bai Xuelan so much before, but you can go with him?" Xuan Huaifeng was in pain and embarrassment when he asked. That kind of chaotic state of mind, there is no adjective to use. There was an embarrassing silence when someone knocked on the door a few times. Taking the opportunity, Xuan Huaifeng hurried over to open the door, hiding the look on his face, and asked, "Do you want to ask for an order? Wait a minute, I'll be ready soon." The waiter at the restaurant said with a smile, "No urgent. Please take it slow. There is a phone call, calling for Mr. Lin Qijun, saying it is urgent." Xuan Huaifeng tilted his head back and glanced at Lin Qijun. Lin Qijun was also stunned. "Who knew I was here? I didn't have a phone call at the Huasha Hotel when I came out of the house." Being entangled with those embarrassing things, he urged, "The phone has come to the hotel, I'm afraid it's really urgent. Hurry up and pick it up." Lin Qijun was also surprised, and followed the waiter to the phone room. Lin Qijun went to the phone room of the Huasha Hotel, took out a piece of 5 yuan. And the waiter took it, smiled and closed the door and walked out. He picked up the phone, fed it, and said, "I'm Lin Qijun, who are you?" From the other side of the phone, there was a strange smile like a night owl. "Master Lin, you are busy with your personal affairs." Lin Qijun's face suddenly turned blue, and he looked around subconsciously. The small telephone room prepared by the hotel for guests has no windows and the door is closed, so no one else is there. His hand holding the microphone trembled slightly, brought his lips closer, and asked in a low voice, "What is it you?" "Confidential. I asked you to come out for a meeting, but you said you were sick. I didn't expect you to be happy and went to the restaurant to recover from your illness." Lin Qijun hurriedly said, "I'm really sick, because there is something urgent. I came out to see a doctor and an old friend." "Why did you call into the restaurant?" The man was very arrogant and said, "Don't talk about a small Huasha restaurant, even if you hide in the sky. I can get you out. Let me ask you, is your friend from the General Administration of Customs?" "He is sitting in the car of the General Administration of Customs, with guards beside him." "Young Master Lin, don't you want to sell me? If you want to do this, first feel how many heads you have." Lin Qijun listened to his ruthless threats, and his voice was soft. He said, "Mr. Zhou, you misunderstood. It's really just an old friend who happened to be working in the customs. He just got his boss's light and came in the car of the General Administration of Customs. How could I report you? Do you still dare to risk the whole family's life?" Mr. Zhou sneered a few times on the phone and changed the subject. "Stop talking nonsense. Let me ask you, when will the things get on board?" Lin Qijun couldn't help but look again. Look left and right. Although he didn't even have a single mosquito, he was still timid, and his voice was hollow. He hesitated and said, "You said at the time that it was only 1 or 2 boxes. How come it has become dozens of boxes now?" Mr. Zhou said indifferently, "Your Lin family's cargo ship is so big. With dozens of extra boxes of things, is it a bird? Time is running out, you are smart, you can transport it to me immediately. Then we still have friends to pawn." Lin Qijun neither agreed nor dared. I objected and fought him to argue with him. Now the customs are getting windy. There are too many things, and the target is so big. If it is found, you and I will be amazing. Why don't you try a box or 2 first, and then wait until the situation is clear, discuss other things. Otherwise, if dozens of boxes are detained, even if I cause trouble, you will lose a lot. Hey, Zhou Dongjia sneered, "You think you are back, safe and sound, so stand up. The waste pole negotiated with me, didn't it? This kind of profiteer's words are also used to fool our gangsters? No, I just want to. I miss you, Dick," he said fiercely. "The surname is Lin. I don't know what's good or bad. If I can bind you once, I will naturally be able to bind you twice. If you have the seeds, you can just talk with this lord. Let me remind you first. Next time you are taken to the wild, you won't be able to guarantee you can come back completely. Don't blame me for missing an arm and a leg." Lin Qijun shuddered when he remembered the fear of being dragged to the outskirts and tied up, the kind of dark wind and dark moon, when his life was like a bug in someone else's hand. This surnamed Zhou is a gangster. What can't he do? Today's government and the police are a bunch of trash. Who would dare to fight against the underworld? It was the man on the phone, who held a bloody knife to his neck that night, and said with a smile that his brothers even beat Bai Xuelan's ambush. Several of Bai Xuelan's guards died. And even Bai Xuelan himself was also shot and almost died. The matter has not been confirmed, and we cannot fully believe it, but the chief of the customs has not shown his face for many days. This is known to everyone. I came from a big family, and I don't have enough glory and wealth. It's definitely not worthwhile to burn with these people. The person who knows the current affairs is genius, and prior void and deterrence for a while are indispensable." Lin Qijun was silent for a long time, gritted his teeth hard. "I will try my best to do it for you." Zhou Dongjia was satisfied, and smiled. "This is what smart people do. 5 days later, give me the freight. Come in. I can warn you, don't play tricks on me. The goods that should arrive are 1 or 2 less. You are a smart person, think about your own fate." Lin Qijun hung up the phone, wet back and a chill. When he walked out of the phone booth, the waiter saw it in the distance, rushed over to greet him, and asked, "Mr. Lin, the call is over? Adjutant Xuan came out of the room just now and asked me to pass a message to you, saying that he has something to do and won't eat today. We'll meet again later." Lin Qijun froze. This is really a leaky night rain. When people are unlucky, they hit black everywhere. He originally planned to take this opportunity to ask about the situation in White Mansion. Whether Bai Xuelan was really in an ambush, Huaifeng must know better. I didn't expect that even Huaifeng, who had known each other for many years, was so heartless, so sweet and intimate in the past, and Radar refused to take a step away from him. Lin Qijun said with bitterness in his mouth. Understood. The waiter couldn't help but glance at him. Your face is not very good, are you ill? Lin Qijun glared at him without saying a word. He turned around simply and went to the room. The guards at the door had long since disappeared, opened the door and entered. It was empty, only a menu was left on the table. The discomfort, depression, uselessness, and jealousy in my heart rose to the extreme. He strode in, stretched out his hands and lifted them up. Boom! The square dining table covered with Western-style napkins was instantly overturned on the ground. With the chair next to him, he also fell down one after another. Several waiters in the corridor trotted over to see what was going on. Just as Lin Qijun ran out angrily, when he saw them, he stopped, raised his eyebrows and said, "What are you looking at? Turned over one of your tables, can't you afford it?" He took out $200 from his pocket, threw it hard on the ground, and walked downstairs without looking back.